8 months. That's how long we have had this BMW i3 now, and it's time to figure out if you should buy this car. So I'm going to go through a comparison with other electric cars that are available on the market. I'm going to talk about the EV technology that's available in this BMW i3. We have to remember that the design is from 2013, and that's the first iteration of the BMW i3. I'm going to talk a little bit about cost and what can start to cost money on these cars. I'm going to talk about the road trip experience of a car like this. How can you do with such slow charging? Is it fine? Is it okay? We are going to talk about the modifications that you can do and that many people have done with their BMW i3. We are going to talk about the user experience from software and from the user input and stuff like that. And I'm going to speculate a little bit on the future prices of the BMW i3, but please make your own research there as well. I'm going to talk about the challenges with this EV. And in between, I'm going to interrupt with many different ideas that I find along the way. I'm also going to mention before we start the video that this is the 4th most sold EV in Norway actually, and it has a 30% of BMW's market share, so it's the single most sold model of any car from the BMW. This is the most popular BMW in Norway. Can you believe that? And as I mentioned earlier, it ended in 2022 and is no longer available as a new car purchase. But a lot of these has hit the used market, so we're going to try to answer, will you want to buy this car? This is the BMW i3 S for sport, so it's the sport version. It has a little bit wider body kit, a little bit wider tires, a little bit more horsepower on the rear, and some badging everywhere in the car, which indicate that this is a BMW i3 S. This is a 2019 model, and it of course has the largest battery, 120 amp hours, which is equal to 42 kilowatt hours if you multiply by the voltage of the car. So this one is a fantastic spec. It has the fully charged package, which means it has all the equipment except for front fog lights, which the i3S never got. Of course, sport mode. So let's talk a little bit about comparison to other electric cars, because that does absolutely make sense when you are considering buying a used electric car. There have been so many great EVs the last few years, and even when the BMW i3 was out, you had the Nissan Leaf and also the E-Up and other electric cars available on the market. Even the Tesla Model S was very early on and actually released before the BMW i3. So we have to look at those and see what at what price points. That's the deal here. It's only the price point that matters, because this car has depreciated a lot. It was a pretty expensive car when it was new. And if you can find a killer deal on this one, it will still probably be more expensive than, for example, a Nissan Leaf. And a Nissan Leaf might cover your needs in the city. So what are you giving up if you choose a Nissan Leaf, for example, over a BMW i3? Well, this one has CCS charging. I can go anywhere in Norway with this car. It has good enough range and good enough charging to go anywhere. Is it comfortable? No, because you need a lot of charging stops and the charging is so slow, but it's possible. With a Nissan Leaf, it might no longer be possible because CHAdeMO chargers are being removed all over Norway, Europe and the United States. And this one at least has an updated, the newest possible charging standard. It'll charge at the Tesla superchargers that are open to everyone. And yeah, so over the Nissan Leaf, this is a better choice in my opinion. But again, you have to look at the price points locally. If we compare it to the Tesla Model 3, which is a much more modern EV, released in Norway in 2019 and in the United States in 2017, I think. That one is much more modern. It'll go much farther, it will charge much farther, it's just as comfortable, to be honest. Sorry BMW, but the Tesla Model 3 is just as comfortable as this car, especially especially the newer ones are way more comfortable, so it doesn't win there. And the reason I mentioned the Tesla Model 3 as a comparison to this one, and I want to get all the comparisons out of the way before I start talking purely about this car, is that it has depreciated a lot. And some early Tesla Model 3s are in the United States and Norway, which are the countries I try to have a good overview of the market. They are actually pretty cheap. And yeah, so you might need to go up a little bit in the price point to get like a similar mileage. But you can get a killer deal on a Tesla Model 3. So please keep that in mind when we continue this video. Let's talk a little bit about technology and innovations of this car. So, for example, I mentioned the Tesla before as actually a competitor to this car, and of course it isn't really a competitor if you can find this car for way cheaper. And the Tesla technology is so fine-tuned, it's so nice, it has the best route planner available in any electric car. This one, on the other hand, is absolutely aging. So if we try to go to Oslo, for example, you have the ability to put in street and stuff like that. You know, this is kind of like an old GPS style. If I just start the route guidance to Oslo,
please follow the arrow on the display. When leaving,
it'll say electric range insufficient, of course. And we want charging station search. What is very nice is that it'll show Tesla superchargers, which are open to everyone. So we can choose this one. And you need to manually add everything. So it has an old style kind of way to add the charging stations. And it only added one charging station, but for this route you absolutely need more than that. I know that already. So that's yeah, aging tech, to say at least. What this 2019 model has, and 2018 some of them also have, is Apple CarPlay. This is, in my opinion, a compromise for a bad infotainment system, and I do not like to use it if I don't need to. But in this car it's so much needed. So I can go into Spotify and use Apple Maps, I can use Google Maps, and all the apps that I want to use, and I can even use a better route planner. And a better route planner is one of the better route planning apps that are available. So if you get this car, please get it with CarPlay. That way you can use a better route planner instead of the ugly integrated maps that'll route you to the wrong places. It'll not optimize the charging in a good way, and it won't add enough chargers automatically. So it's kind of a shame that it's not better than it is. But again, it's aging, and a better route planner is anyways is available anyways in the CarPlay here. So you can use a better route planner to get a much better route. In a better route planner, you can add your car exact specification, and you can get the exact arrival state of charge, and it's pretty accurate in most cases. And of course you have all the other apps here, like PlugShare and stuff like that in Apple CarPlay. And yeah, it allows you to search for chargers. It's not aging tech, is all the materials that are used here. These are part of the design, and it's also why this car weighs 1,250 kilograms. It's super light to be an electric car, and it uses so many innovative materials that I have personally never seen in a car before. So you have hemp plastic, which is reinforced plastic with like hemp fibers. It's a sustainable material, and you can find it all the way over the dashboard here. What's even cooler is this here. This is carbon fiber reinforced plastic. You can see the imperfections in the carbon fiber here. It's made by a company in the United States, shipped over to Germany, and this car is built into the carbon fiber monocoque. So this is, yeah, like a McLaren. The entire car is actually made of carbon fiber. So in some senses this car is actually pretty old, with the old infotainment, bad route planning and CarPlay compromise. But in some areas this car is so modern. You have an entire car made in carbon fiber. That's kind of unheard of from other automakers. Of course, BMW has used this for some of their other electric cars, or partly at least, for example in the BMW iX. Well, how does the carbon fiber chassis benefit you as a buyer of this car? That's important to talk about, because of course there is a lot of cool technology in the car, but it has to benefit the buyer. So what you get is an extremely light car, like I mentioned, like 1200, 1300 kilograms. It's super light to be an electric car, and it's small, but it isn't like a small smart car or something like that. It's a proper sized car in many senses. And of course, when you have a light car, you have a fun car in most cases, because you have like 180 horsepower on the rear in the BMW i3S, and that's not a lot of horsepower really, especially for an electric car. But since this car is light, it makes it super fun to drive. It's a fun driving car. It's a fun looking car, in my opinion. Yeah, overall, I think the technology was used right in this car. And I do wish it had, of course, an upgraded infotainment and stuff like that, but I think it's a little bit too much to ask when the car was discontinued in 2022. So I think that's the conclusion of the technology part. Okay, let's talk about cost. The cost of an electric car is usually lower than a combustion car. In terms of maintenance, in terms of electricity versus fuel, in terms of maintenance, in terms of oil changes and stuff like that. And the same applies to the BMW i3. But if we start to compare it to other electric cars, we get some pluses and some minuses. Because the tires on this car are extremely thin. Just to show you how thin the wheels are, and these are actually wider than the winter tires and wider than the tires you get on the normal BMW i3. And what does thin tires means? Well, it's a lower grip area, of course, when you have these bicycle tires, and they wear quickly because of the surface area. And you can see that these tires should be replaced very soon. You can see this is due to age, not due to driving, really. You can see there are enough of this track left, but of course this is mostly due to age. These are the original tires from 2019 actually, on the front here. So these needs to be replaced. And what's the problem? Thin tires probably cheap, right? No, these tires are rare. So they are at least 200 euros, 200 United States dollars for each tire. And that's pretty expensive for this car, which is supposed to be a really affordable EV now that it has depreciated. So we have to keep that in mind. What's worse is that this is the BMW i3S. So this one has 175 in the front, which is not the rarest tire in the world, but it's rare. But in the rear of the car we have 195/55 R20. And these tires, which are luckily not worn out or not aged, like you can see, these are completely fine still. These are super expensive tires. These are only available from Bridgestone. Bridgestone made actually these tires for the BMW i3. It's the Bridgestone EP500 tires. And you can see it's 195/50 R20, sorry. It's 175/55 R20 in the front here. You can also get 19-inch wheels and stuff like that, but for this car, we have the big 20-inch wheels. So tires on this car is expensive. You can actually see that these were produced in 2018, so they are way overdue for change. And I've already ordered a set of new front wheels for this car before they explode. Let's talk about something more positive about the cost of this electric car. Of course, the initial cost should be low. You should only buy this car depreciated, of course. And that is, how much does charging cost? Well, it's cheap because this car is efficient. It's one of the more efficient electric cars that you can get. There are some cars that are more efficient, especially at highway speed, like the Tesla Model 3, for example, and stuff like that. But this one uses generally just a tiny bit of electricity to move, so it's cheap in terms of electricity cost. It also has all the other benefits of an electric car, like I mentioned. There is no service required other than, like, for example, brakes that will get worn out after a while. That happens rarer. It will take longer on an electric car, of course. And yeah, you have window washer fluid and stuff like that. But there are no expensive maintenance stuff that you need to do. In conclusion, this is both a cheap car to buy and pretty cheap car to operate. There is of course window washer fluid, but there is no real maintenance, no oil changes and stuff like that, like any other EV. But you need to keep in mind that the tires might be rare, especially if you go for the i3S version. So keep that in mind with this electric vehicle. How is it to road trip this vehicle? Well, it kind of sucks. There are many other electric cars that are better than this one. For me, it's about taking it on an adventure, of course, and for me it's just fun to stay at charger for a little while and, you know, see how it is actually possible to travel the entire Europe and Norway with this car. It is totally possible. Car will actually not show charging speed, so you need to rely on other apps. For example, the Tesla app will show the charging speed, which is now 45 kilowatts, which is what you can expect from this car, really. 50 kilowatt fast charging is not enough. It's slow. You will stay at charger for 40-50 minutes instead of 15, 20, 25 minutes, which we are used to with other electric cars. The battery is small. The car is efficient though, so it'll go around 280 kilometers in perfect slow conditions, like 220 in real life driving, or 190, 180 kilometers in the winter when it's cold outside. And this one has the largest battery that's available in an i3, so please keep that in mind when you are looking around for an i3. This one is the 120 amp hour version. 120 amp hours is the same as 42 kilowatt hours, around 42 kilowatt hours. You just multiply it with the voltage of the battery of the car. Anyways, this one has the largest battery, so it go the furthest. Every other BMW i3S will go for shorter. So keep that in mind when you buy an electric car. In conclusion, for road trips, the route planning sucks, but you have the compromise of Apple CarPlay to back you up on route planning, so you will get to where you are going. You can go to most places with the range that this car has, but you will stay for a long time at the fast chargers. You will stay there for 40 minutes plus, maybe. But if you have so much time to spare or just want a real adventure, this one will work just fine for road trips. But for me, the Tesla Model 3 is the first choice for road trips. This one is the around town car. But we did take this from Bergen to Stavanger multiple times, and it's completely fine because the roads are slow and there are ferries, and we'll just use 70% of the battery to drive, and we can charge it there overnight, and we will never need to stop on the fast charger. So it depends on your use case, of course. Let's talk a little bit about the modifications I've done to this car. Well, nothing. I haven't even bought the new tires that I talked about earlier. What you can do which many people have done, is to replace these with flaps that you can have here, which is better. And I think I'll probably do that. It's a great company that made a 3D printed insert here for flaps that you just flip out, like on the BMW iX or other BMWs. These ones kind of suck. They will damage the paint if you don't put them up correctly, like you of course can do, but it's a lot of work, and yeah, I don't like this. That's a modification you can do, a minor one. What you can also do is get approved spacers for the BMW i3S. That's only for this model. The sport model, which has more horsepower and wider tires in the rear, like I talked about earlier. You can get a spacer, and a spacer is essentially a kit that you will get to place the wheel a little bit more outside. It'll look much better than it does now, and it's officially approved and safe to use on the rear of the BMW i3S. So that's a modification that you can do that I haven't done yet. Let's talk a little bit about the user experience of the car. So you open the door like any other car. The window will go down. This is a frameless door. That's fine. It's fine in winter as well. No problems with it. More problems with my Tesla Model 3, to be honest. It'll close. The window will go up. I can start the car by pressing the start button. That's here. I can release the park brake here. You have to press the brake, of course, and then release the park brake. And you are you need to press the start button while you are actually pressing the brake pedal. Anyways, you put it into drive by pressing this one into drive, and you're ready to go very fast. You can go in reverse the same way, just in reverse, and you can go directly from drive to reverse, and it'll go directly into drive for you, no problem. So it'll actually go between drive and reverse without you pressing the brake pedal, which in my opinion is awesome. I don't want to speculate too much in future pricing, of course. It's difficult to predict the market, and actually it's impossible to predict the market. So yeah. But what we can look at is other cheap electric cars that are coming out. So we know both Ford and GM, and of course Volkswagen works on cheap electric cars. And cheap electric cars will, of course, compete even on used electric cars. So this car might plummet even more in value, or it might rise in value. We don't really know at all. But what we can say is that it's out of production, it's a little bit rarer, it's an extremely fun, capable, pretty reliable car, and from that it might actually hold its value a little bit better than many other cars. But on the other side, the technology of this car is old, it's aging, 50 kilowatt max, it's super slow to charge, it has not very good route planning, and it lacks a lot of the technology advancements that we have seen in other electric cars. So I don't want to predict too much, and I would never buy a car as an investment, but it's important to note that this car has depreciated a lot already. So see if you can find a deal near you at a comfortable price point where you are comfortable with losing money, even more money, or yeah, you never know, that's the point. But I think everything I've talked about in this video applies to the market as well. What do people want? Is it a nice road tripper? Maybe not, but it'll compete in the around town EVs, and I think it's a better choice than for example, the Nissan Leaf. It's more expensive, of course, but I think it's better than many other small electric cars that are available on the market and has depreciated a lot. So yeah, keep that in mind. You already know the main challenges of this BMW i3. It's of course that it has expensive tires because they are rare, and they do actually get worn out pretty quickly. Another challenge is of course the slow charging and the lower range on road trips. And you might also talk about like the warranty stuff on this car. It has had battery problems, suspension problems, motor mount problems. These three mainly, I think. All warranty stuff. Please check if you are buying a used one, if these warranty things applies to that specific model, and if they are actually fixed at the BMW dealership. Aside from that, this is a pretty reliable car. There are not many challenges with this car aside from those that I mentioned. If you just charge at home, there are really no challenges. And yeah, it has been reliable for us. It's been reliable for a lot of people. I'm in the BMW owners, BMW i3 owners club. And of course, I just look at all the problems that occur and what people do to alleviate them. And there are so few things. These cars are pretty reliable and, dare I say, the most reliable BMW ever made. I just want to say thank you so much for watching this video. I'm back from a little summer vacation and I'm back in full speed with videos. It will be a little bit while until the next video, but I do want to say that I take all the feedback in the comments, and that's what decide what kind of video I make next. Please check out the podcast I did with Out of Spec podcast with Francie over at Out of Spec podcast. That video, in that video I'll talk in that video, I'll talk about EV adoption in Norway and why it is successful and how other countries can learn from Norway in terms of EV adoption. So if you're interested in that, check out that video. Other than that, please leave a comment with what you want me to focus on. Do you want to see more from this fantastic BMW i3? Do you want to see more from my Tesla? Or do you want to see entirely different cars? Are there any cars that's coming on the market that you are excited for? I'm excited for the ID Buzz. I'll make so much content on the new ID Buzz. I am trying so hard to get my hands on one early. If you have any contacts, please let me know. Anyways, thank you for watching. Have a great day and I hope you enjoyed this video.